Call the Traffic and Safety Advisory Board for City of Gladstone to order at 6 o'clock, January 27th, 2025. Would you call roll call, please?
Sure. John Kilstrom,
Present.
Tim Large,
Here.
Mindy Prosky.
Present.
Mindy's online tonight. Andrew Rathbun, don't see him. Benjamin Hurt,
Here.
Daniel Ilian.
Here.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Council Liaison Vanessa Huckabee is not here.
Yeah, a new one.
Andrew Labonte from City Council sitting in the audience. And Lieutenant Eric McNabb is filling in for Chief John Schmerber tonight.
First order of business will be to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any additions or corrections that anybody knows of? Mindy?
Mindy,
No, none from me.
Oh, okay, sorry. No for Mindy.
No, okay. You second the approval has been seconded by Tim. Would you call a roll on that, please?
Sure. We'll start with Tim.
Yes.
Yes. John.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
And Ben.
Yes.
And Mindy.
Yes.
Approved.
As part of the requirements, we need to appoint a chair and a vice chair for the Traffic Safety Board. I am going to nominate Tim Large for chair for this coming year. Any seconds?
I second that.
Tim, are you interested in that?
I will do it.
Okay, so shall we take a vote on Tim Large to be chair? Start with John.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
And Mindy.
Yes.
Congratulations, your
Thanks.
chair.
So noted.
We now need nominations for vice chair.
When you guys want to step up?
Are you interested, Mindy, in being vice chair?
I'm already chair of another, so I would respectfully decline.
Okay.
Sure. I'll step up.
So Daniel Ilian wishes to be the vice chair for
So
the
you'll
traffic.
nominate him and somebody.
Nominate Daniel Ilian as the vice chair.
And will somebody second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Tim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Mindy.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, you're the new vice chair. And
So we have a new vice chair that we already elected and haven't even introduced him yet. Daniel Ilian, would you please welcome to the board, and would you please give a little history on yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Daniel Ilian. I have lived in Gladstone now for 13 years. Wife and I moved into Gladstone with our 1-year-old. So I live in Gladstone. I'm a civil engineer is my job. So I actually design roads, bridges, trails, stuff like that. So I've always been very interested in transportation in general. I've got 2 boys, a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old that are in the Gladstone school systems. So obviously safety is a big thing for me, as my boys are now at the age where they're out scootering around the town and walking in between friends' houses. So, and then being obviously so involved in transportation and design in general, I just had a desire to kind of get involved in the safety associated here in Gladstone. And honestly, I've got a desire to be as involved with this community as possible. It's an awesome community. I'm involved with the Gladstone Basketball Association. It's another board that I'm a part of. So I'm very, very involved with a lot of the families, involved with a lot of youth sports, and this is just kind of one other thing I was had an interest in being involved in. So,
Nice, welcome.
yeah, thank you.
Yep, welcome, thank you. Benjamin Hurt, you wish to say, do you go by Ben or Benjamin?
Ben is fine. Thank you for asking. Yeah, Ben Hurt. I've lived in Gladstone for 4 years now, and my wife and I live up in the Buckingham area. And yeah, we've lived here for 4 years. We have one boy who's a year and a half, and so just wanted to get involved now that we're starting to put down roots here in Gladstone and get involved and help out in any way we can. I am also a civil engineer, and as you may know, Dan and I are coworkers. And we did not collude to get on this. We kind of showed up to work one day and I let him know that I did it. And he was like, oh my gosh, I did it too. So it was very interesting. I was like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's exciting, exciting to get involved and looking forward to it. So thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
And John, since we have a new chair, we'll let Tim.
He's got to take over.
He's got to take over. I know Yvonne is on the agenda.
I skipped, I did that already.
Yvonne is on the agenda and she's running a few minutes late. So if we can just go past that and go to business from the board and round table, and then we'll catch Yvonne when she gets here.
I'm completely unprepared for this, of course.
Well,
By the way, welcome both of you.
Thank you.
I know that we're going to be talking about, and Yvonne and I talked about this last week, putting together the dates for all the various events. Do you know if she's scheduled those yet? I forgot to ask her that.
I've actually scheduled dates and she will be here in about 10 minutes
So we can
to discuss that.
put that
Yeah,
off.
I just
Yeah.
skipped that whole one.
I like how you printed your nice old people font for me. No, I've got the agenda here.
But that, so we're down to 7.
7.
This is from the board. We go around them. We go.
I don't have any new business other than to mention that the chief and I have talked before the new year about putting together some language for some sort of enforcement and regulation to electric bikes and electric motorcycles. And I think he and I will be working on that soon. So nothing really to report other than that's kind of in the works. Do either of you three have any new stuff?
Yeah, the electric bike, e-bikes, e-scooters, whatever you want to call them, that several cities are starting to put together proposals around these. I think a while back it was mentioned Seaside had something. I heard on the news this week that Portland is implementing, or going to be implementing some new policies around them because of these things going down the sidewalks and hitting people and causing problems. So there are, by the state, they have rules for mopeds and other motorized vehicles that are of small size. So between the state and the cities, there should be something that we can slowly work together and put together some sort of ordinances that provide safety for the users of these vehicles, for motorists, and for pedestrians and regular bike riders. So a lot of definitions will be needed, I think, and then through the council can implement these in time. Just for the new folks too, Tim and I met with the chief back in December and others on Zoom to talk to what our work plan was for the year. So the community events, which is the bike rodeo, the shred event, drug take back, recycle day. I think that was in with Kiwanis also. 4th of July barbecue, the community festival, and the Halloween event. Those things that would be going on. Each year promoting the traffic safety, also the bike helmet program, and that's with Kiwanis. Car seat program that probably one of our members needs to become certified also to be able to help that. Yvonne does it, but there may be others. Bring a Gladstone High School student onto the Traffic Advisory Board as a student liaison. This would be through the city council, has to do this as their process. Review of the transportation safety plan. This is you can find it online or you can get a hard copy. It's a very thick, detailed plan for entire city of Gladstone, pedestrian, bikes, public transportation, you name it, it's in there. And this is going to come up for a renew within the next 2 years. So we need to be reviewing that. Participate in the traffic development related to downtown revitalization. There is an advisory committee, but we need to be part of that. The police department, probably through Yvonne, will put out an article in the city monthly newsletter. And then again, the last thing was the e-bike ordinance. So those are things that were on the agenda for this year to be working on. Anybody else have any comments?
No, I'd just say, I think for the first little bit, we're gonna try and figure out how we can help and things like that. I'm not trying to come in and I don't have any ideas. I just, whatever you guys need help on, like for example, like the bike ordinance, if you need someone to do some legwork to research what all these other places are doing, let me know. I'm happy to track some of that down and pull together resources and different references we could use to come up with something. So just let me know how I can help out that.
Also, and there are, I think, half a dozen events to volunteer for.
Absolutely.
Like the barbecue thing, the hot dog thing is a blast.
Yeah.
The bike thing, I think is fun too. Because all these kids with their parents show up and they get fitted with new helmets. So
Yeah.
if you can spare some time to volunteer for those, those are, I think, fun events.
Absolutely.
Mindy, did you have anything?
I
Does-
do not have anything tonight. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
That's fine. Do we want to do any police department updates at all? Are there any?
I think you guys all received the monthly report in your packet. Is there any questions regarding that? Any information that was in there?
No, I don't anyway.
Okay.
Didn't review it in detail.
No questions?
Nope.
So the statistics for year end for 2024, we had 3,531 traffic stops. We had 1,476 citations or charges. We had 1,936 parking citations, and we had 31 DUIs. The first three categories, that was an increase from the previous year. We had a few less DUIs this year than last. That's all I got.
Okay, and somebody is just walking up to the building, which might be Yvonne.
Do we have please? Do you have Yvonne's report in there? The monthly report?
It should be in there.
Yeah, there was one item on the.
You're just
on
in
her
time.
report, the very last thing written down was an SOHF or something. And what did that stand for?
Report?
Yeah,
Let me look on her monthly report. What you're referring to.
she presents the number of parking violations and code violations, and then at the very end, there was
So she had camping. The last one was camping.
camping.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I thought there was one of was SO something or other.
No, there's community contacts, car seat checks, vehicles tagged for tow, vehicles towed, parking citations, parking warnings, ordinance violations, ordinance violation follow-up, animal complaint, lost and found property, traffic control, theft, cold thefts, and camping.
Okay,
That was it.
thank you.
We would like to recognize Yvonne.
Hello, I'm Yvonne McNeil. I'm your Community Services Officer.
You were going to talk about the
Upcoming events.
upcoming year events.
Yeah, so over the next year, we have 5 events that we need help with. Volunteer times, either a 2 to 4 hour time slot. And I just wanted to reach out to all of you and make sure that when I went to ask you to help, that you know who I am and I know who you are, because there's a couple of new faces. And then maybe explain the events a little bit beforehand so that you'll know what you're getting into when you do say, yes, I'll volunteer for that. Your chair, John Kellstrom, has attended all of these. So if I don't go into enough details, he can probably give you the details. But there are 5. One is the shred event. And we do what they call a drug take back during that time. So we have a booth out here and people come up with their older drugs and we take them back and they go through the process that they need to go through. The second one is the community festival. And that's a 2-day event on a Friday and a Saturday. The first event was a Saturday. And we have a booth that we man there that talks about traffic safety so that the public can come up and talk with you and ask you questions or ask an officer a question. You won't be left behind, I promise. Then we have the bike rodeo. It's on a Saturday and it's here. We have a company from Portland that comes in. They set up a course so the kids can ride their bikes through the course. Not all kids or parents come with bikes. And so this company that comes out, which is strictly volunteer on their side too, brings bikes. So if a dad wants to ride a bike with his daughter through it, he can, or maybe there's a little one that doesn't have a bike. He also goes through and does a maintenance on the kids' bikes. So he'll make sure the tire pressure is right, the brakes are right, that it's actually fitting the child correctly. And during that event, we also hand out bicycle helmets. I'm missing one. What am I missing other than the Halloween?
Hot dog.
4th of July, thank you. The next one is 4th of July, and it's a picnic that we have with the fire department and the police department. It's a 4-hour event where we do hot dogs, soda, snow cones. For the community, it's totally free for the community to come, but there's a lot of handing out chips or whatever it might be. And then the last one is Halloween, and it's from 5 to 7 at the fire department is usually where we set up, and we just need help manning a booth there, handing out Halloween candy. Usually we have the bracelets that they can wear that glow in the dark, that kind of thing. And so those are the 5 events that we need help with. We have others that we probably don't need as much help with. But if you wanted to volunteer for those, you could too, which is Easter, which is really good. If you want to volunteer with that, you can go to the city, talk with Haley Kratz. She'll be able to help you guys with that. And I think that's all of them.
Did you last year, and we just brought it up, do you need, or would you prefer that there was another person certified for helmet fitting for the bike event?
Absolutely.
'Cause I said I would do it.
Also, that happens at the community event. We give out helmets there also. There is an online class that takes a few minutes and then just 1 or 2 trainings with us, just showing you how to fit it correctly, and you'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Doesn't take a lot to learn that.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay,
which I
that'd be
said
great.
last-
I know,
Jim?
I'll personally say I've been to almost every one of those events with my kids at one point or another. Actually, when we go to the Halloween event every single year, go to the 4th of July event every single year, as well as the community festival. So I know I'd be excited to volunteer. So
We'd love to have help. There's never too many hands.
Lots of things to pass out. That's all you got?
That's all I've got, unless you guys have some more questions about my report. I'm not sure what that question was.
I do want to make note that Yvonne is our, I don't know if you said that, our community services officer. And she's also a certified car seat technician. And I know that's one of the goals for traffic safety is to get somebody else certified. So
I can answer any questions you guys have on
yeah,
that
reach
offline.
out to Yvonne and I believe we'll pay for the class. I think it's only $95.
It's a 3-day class.
Yeah, 3-day
Really?
class, but
Yeah.
we'll pay for that.
Yeah.
So.
We also have a car seat grant that we just got from ODOT for our local citizens, and anybody that needs a car seat, just have them reach out to us.
Do you promote that?
We do a bit.
Okay. I didn't know if that gets put in the newsletter at all.
We do say that we have a child passenger safety technician. We also go to the schools, Head Start, preschools, and they all know that we have the grant. So, and then DHS also is aware. We actually just started last week training the DHS workers to install their own car seats that they have to use from DHS. And so that's a great program that we have with them too.
It's pretty awesome.
But they also know that if it's somebody from Gladstone needs a car seat, that they can recommend them to us.
Okay.
American Medical Response also has that same grant outside of Gladstone. That's where I would be referring them.
Okay.
They're in Clackamas. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
I have something.
Oh, John.
One other thing for new members and current members, we all have to go through ethics training. If you haven't seen it, to be signed up, we have to get signed up for that. I think Tammy sent something out that you can get to the program and pick a date somewhere along the way. I think I ended up in March. It's a Zoom.
I haven't seen it, so I don't have.
It's ethics that you have to go through it every year as far as, you know.
I haven't seen an email from Tammy, so I don't have any information on that yet.
Yeah.
But it'll come out.
It's not ethical not to. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up? And good evening.
Good evening. I'm Michael Milch, Mayor of Gladstone. I want to welcome you all and thank you. I think this is the first Traffic Safety Advisory Board meeting I've been to in quite a while, but since it's the first of the year and we have some new people on, I just want to express my appreciation to you for this service. We've had a Traffic Safety Advisory Board in the city for many, many years. People who were on it a long time ago will sometimes refer it to as the Traffic and Safety Group, which is always incorrect. Because that sort of implies that you're dealing with safety as a broad category in general, you know, fire safety, all kinds of safety. It is traffic safety, and the term traffic sometimes is misunderstood because people think that just refers to vehicular traffic safety, and it's more than that, as you know, as you mentioned, with children and scooters and everything else. And I'm really glad to see thinking about different modes of transportation and the safety and the regulations involved. So I think you're on a good track. We have never had this much technical expertise on the group. One of our former technical expertise persons is newly elected city councilor Andrew Labonte in the back, who served, you were chair of this committee for a while, is that right? So he is here tonight and is most likely going to be appointed as the liaison to the group. And he has a long career in safe driving education. And while he was chair, he reminded the community many times of the traditional 3 E's of traffic safety: education, engineering, enforcement. And this committee, one time, its primary focus was education, which in this community means the kinds of events we've talked about tonight. Also, helping people understand, how do you go through a 4-way uncontrolled intersection? Because there are a few of those in Gladstone. It's problematic for people. The education role is very important, but you'll see that the role of this committee has expanded in recent years. I think the city council has kind of revised the purpose of the group, and helping advise us on a transportation system plan coming in the future that we'll have to revise, and giving and again sharing technical expertise about traffic patterns and safety and sidewalks and everything else involved throughout the city. I think we're going to ask a lot more of this group than we ever have. I am especially glad that you have Mr. Labonte, Councilor Labonte, to be here and help bring things back to the city council and bring things from the city council back to you, because that will be very helpful. So thank you all for your service. Andrew, why don't you come up and Councilor Labonte, share a little bit more about yourself so that they're comfortable with you. And
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, it was a cold day in March. Andrew Labonte, recently elected to city council. Thank you. Voted for me. No, that's fine too. The couple of things, just saying thank you, Mayor. That's awfully kind. I do want to mention that Yvonne McNeil was really just did amazing work with the board as a board member before she took a role with the with the police department, and her efforts were huge, and the success of this board had so much to do with what she does in the city. So we're lucky to have her, and we were on this board. I just briefly want to mention just kind of how I got into traffic safety. I'll be brief. I've worked in traffic safety for over 20 years. I've slowed down in the past couple of years. I grew up in a family where that's what we did. My father started driving school in 1971, and he's still going at it at 78. So we're always around the idea of, new drivers, training, how to keep people safe, seatbelt safety. It was just part of my life growing up. And as the years went on, here in Gladstone, had an opportunity to join the board, and then a different way to help. As many of you know, you're here to, and just to briefly talk about the board, and then I just want to talk about from the Clackamas County level. I'm a member of the Clackamas Traffic Safety Board. And they've got some kind of interesting things going on that, relate to us and will impact us. In fact, I'll go right to that. Right now, they are working on, they've got a task force, the Clackamas County Safe System Advisory Task Force. I was there with them for 7 hours today. It's a group of about 50 or so engineer, county people, enforcement, and they're looking to, there's an approach called the safe system approach. And my understanding is this has been kind of accepted on the federal level. Clackamas County is one of is looking like it may end up being the gold standard for this. And essentially, what the safe system it's in a nutshell, it's creating a system where there's better communication between all the different groups, between the engineers, between law enforcement, in education also, trying to get more than just a reactive approach to fixing intersections, kind of proactive, looking at trends and almost what we never get to do in this. We're very much, there's crashes, there aren't crashes, that's the solution, right? We know, but they're looking more at what are causing crashes. Their focus in a big way really is higher speeds and pedestrians. Of course, in the county, that's a huge deal now where a lot of these areas are changing, and we see a lot of conflict there. It relates to our city too, and some things that might be some good safety improvements for our city, perhaps some speed reduction, things like this. But an interesting part, two things on this plan, which is going to be like a 2-year thing. You know how all this goes in meetings and meetings. But the two things that are pretty interesting. One is, and this is a conversation really for police department and chief. But overall, the county is trying to look at, I don't want to say improving, but having more detailed crash reporting, more from like what I was explaining today, more of like a narrative, not more of, but including more of a narrative kind of approach to it. So instead of just saying, okay, speeding, okay, fine, but a little more detail so that people that are doing research, looking at these crashes and why crashes happen, have a little more to go on. These are things I just learned about today. I look forward to having conversations with law enforcement about that for sure. But we've known for a long time in the board where we see a crash occur, we'll see the police officer roll up, but it's minor damage. Everyone parts ways, and there might not be, we don't have 100% accurate reporting on crashes. And it'd be nice to see a little better and a little more detail. But another interesting thing that they're looking to do, and I think this is kind of is a post-crash, like triage, and having some type of system where, folks that are in crashes, that there's the term wraparound service was used, of which I don't love, and I think sometimes that's a way to just say, kind of push it into the future. But the idea is to have some type of system there to basically help both the victim and maybe the person at fault in the crash, and to have the idea is to just realize the person more than just the act that they committed. At least that's the approach that Clackamas County is talking about. And how to help people after a crash. So they're in a fatal crash, or they lost a friend, or whatever it is, that there are some resources there. How effective that is, I don't know. But that's kind of an interesting thing happening on the county level. They're really looking at kind of, this model is like New Zealand and Australia have accepted this model. Like I said, my understanding is it's pretty new here in the States, and Clackamas County really is like teeing up to be kind of a gold standard for us. So these are things that you'll hear about. I'll give information as I get it, but please look into it there. I'm not positive, but I believe we might have a couple open seats on the Clackamas Traffic Safety Advisory Board too. So that's just a little bit of a different perspective. And they do a trivia night once a year. So, but anyways, so I just wanted to point, and just one, we had the goal setting for city council this past weekend, and there was so much talk around community, and really reflecting on like what this board does and what this group does, and the way that, and just looking at how many events that you're going to, and just the volunteer, and it's great work, and you're giving people things that can help them, you know. So it's just as Yvonne talked about the volunteer opportunities, I'm sure that's why you're here. So I look forward to being there with you guys and just getting this stuff out there. So yeah, I'm sure I've got other things to talk about and that I want to say, but I think that pretty much has it there. Questions? Anything?
How many other cities have a safety board, you know, traffic safety board like this?
Sure. I know we had many.
With this program you're talking about, is there any thought or a benefit to getting each of these groups or representative of these groups together for commonality?
Yeah, that's part of what I think the meeting was today. They had a pretty robust effort and a really big turnout today, trying to get groups from all these people from all these different groups in. I'm not sure exactly, I'm not in that part of it, the outreach, but I know Rob Sadowski is kind of the coordinator for that in Clackamas County. And he seems to be doing a pretty good job. There was a big turnout. I know that there were members from different boards, I believe. Today it was mostly engineers, county folks. But yeah, that's a great point, and I assume that's part of their plan. We did a thing a few years ago here with the board where we pretty much researched what other boards were doing. Yeah. Just for ideas. That's kind of where the youth person came out. One of the ideas that came out was having someone, a youth member. Perhaps that works, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, I would just see continuity if you had, instead of,
Mhm.
you know, because if we go to those, we just bring back fragments.
Mhm.
Whereas if you can get compilation, then with the county kind of heading it, then it's
Mhm.
all disseminated in the same framework and possibly better results.
And once they get that information out, it's it's certainly accessible now. But that's, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's the timeline on the plan like that? Is this like a, hey, 2 years, 5 years, 10-year thing, or is it we roll out in phases?
Yeah, well, I mean, so they're in the data
Right.
zone now, right? So they're researching my understanding is this, and maybe this is good, maybe it's not, but it exists. But this company, I believe, is from like North Carolina or something, Virginia. And they came in to do this presentation. And they had, I mean, I could go through it specifically if you want to do the timeline here, but essentially they're looking to kind of have it sorted out by 2026. And then, and part of what they're talking about, and I assume that there'd be some room for, you guys to join too, is kind of what do they implement? What is important? What can we continue to work on that we've been working on? And what are some new areas where we can make improvement?
What was the name of this safety approach again? I'd like to.
Sure. Yeah. Well, to mention, the meeting today was the Clackamas County Safe System Advisory Task Force. Okay. The actual system is called, quite simply, the Safe System Approach. Okay. Of which I don't like the word safe with anything to do with cars, because safe means free from harm, and I think. If you run into a car fast enough, you're going to hurt yourself. So I've got my own hangups on some of the wording, but I think the idea and the point behind it. I mean, they're not reinventing the wheel. I think the new part's really improving communication between different groups so that they have a more of a clear idea as to problems that might be coming up in the future. And that triage part is kind of a new aspect, which is kind of cool. And just to, I'm not, it's great to have engineers on the board. This is fun, and everybody really. That traffic safety plan that we have here in Gladstone that, John, you had mentioned, that we'll be reviewing. If you haven't looked at it, I encourage you to look at it. I know in years past with the Traffic Safety Board, when we would do our like goal setting, oftentimes we would try to pick maybe, education opportunities, enforcement opportunities, and then maybe a couple engineering projects that might be worthy. One of which that's been on the line for a long time is speed reduction on Oakfield. And I know at the city level, that's something that we've talked about and we're looking at. So I would encourage you to, if you haven't studied the traffic safety plan, to maybe take a look at it, get a sense for some of the projects that are out there. I'm sure you can find it on the website. Maybe pick out some that you think could be worthy. I will mention it's 2017 that it was put out. So any of the estimates they have for the cost is not. A good example would be the rapid flashing beacon on Webster and Caisson, which was, the estimate was roughly 40,000 and that went up over 300,000 is mine. So it's something to keep in mind as you look through, but you already know that. So, all right, with that, any questions, anything?
I just have two that maybe you would know about. We've talked about controlling speed on Dartmouth and visually narrowing the lanes. Don't know if if that's in your wheelhouse. The other thing I'm curious, right around here, the four-way stops that don't have stop signs. Every time I see one, the officers that show up kind of tongue in cheek say, yeah, there's no stop signs. And I heard one of them say that that one person who'd been in a wreck said, oh, well, it's whoever is facing north, they get the right of way, right? So there's a lot of, so I don't know if you guys have talked about doing anything as far as adding stop signs or doing any awareness.
That's it. The stop sign question comes up a lot. And in my experience with the board and talking with, law enforcement and fire department, there seems to be some pushback on stop signs at four-way intersections, unless, there are a certain amount of crashes or something. Stop signs are an uphill battle, whether you want to believe it or not, whether it's good or not. But to get more stop signs at intersections, I think that would be, sure, it might be noble, but it might be a hard thing to do unless there's particular intersections where there have been crashes or enough. Hey, a lot of it's complaint driven, right? So talking to these folks, having them place a complaint with the city or coming to one of these meetings could help push that.
Right.
But I would say overall, it would probably pretty difficult to get new stop signs up. Yvonne, would you have?
And then Dartmouth, I think, is scheduled for this year with the new public works director. I think he's got a lot on his plate, but that's going to be one of the things that is going to happen this year.
Like the striping?
Yeah, the striping. So
Striping
the
or
plan was to
arrows.
put in parking on each side, bike lane, that would narrow the road, which would help people slow down.
Cool.
And I will say that the chief has probably twice a year in the city newsletter and maybe through some other avenues, tried to educate the public on the uncontrolled four-way intersection. To, first of all, to correct that misinformation. Oh, north-south, that's the weather. Oh my gosh. So, and good advice on how to do it. Look to your left to make sure the person who's supposed to be yielding to you is indeed yielding before you go through and get hit. And then look to the right to see if someone else has the right of way that you need to be slowing to allow them through. And if we, can get drivers to follow that simple, look to the left, it's like a quarterback checking your options, that's the way we're trying to teach it to people. But it's when people get on social media and say, oh yeah, if you're going north and south, you have the right of way, and they spread that misinformation to the rest of the community, it becomes elusive now to get people to understand the appropriate, that the person on the right has the right of way.
Well, I'm also wondering, as we're talking about it, would it make sense to print a poster board or whatever and post it at like the bicycle event and or the 4th of July event where there are lots of people.
See, and that's why you're here, to think of good
Yeah.
ideas like that and take advantage of those educational.
My observation is for the core city of Gladstone, that if you have clear vision, there's no stop signs. But if there's blockage in the area, then there's there's four-way stops. Like if you hit over on Berkeley, there's a lot of clear vision that runs and there's no stop signs there because you can see every which way. But they still run into each other there.
All right. Well, nice to meet you.
Right on. Thank you. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you, Counselor.
Do we have any community input? I wouldn't think so.
No community input.
We have. Anybody got anything else to add? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn, yes.
John,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Mindy.
Yes.
Meeting's adjourned.